Next subject here. There's this article. Let's see. 𝐸XL article featuring Bun B. And it's Bun B talking about, he shared his 10 of his favorite hip hop songs for today's young rap fans.
Mm-hmm.
So this
trying
is
to put you on list.
I think it's trying to put you on to maybe some songs maybe you wouldn't have heard of or wouldn't have listened. So once dismissed as a fad, hip hop has blossomed into the most popular genre in the U.S. In honor of hip hop's 50th birthday this year, Bun B put out his professor's hat on and selected 10 songs he feels are important for furthering the youth's education. Not only does Bun find rap from the 90s and 2000s crucial for inspiring the next generation, he also wants to illustrate how much hip hop has done for those who might not have flourished otherwise. Simultaneously, he welcomes hip hop's inevitable evolution and encourages everyone to keep an open mind. So here are his choices. And some of these songs I don't even know if I know. So Drought Season by E40 and the Click is the first one on the list.
I'm hip.
All right.
So
he only picked 10 songs, and that was one of the 10?
That was one of the 10, yeah.
Okay.
So,
I mean, I don't know if that have made my top 10.
Nah.
Yeah. So here, let me, while we're doing this, I'm going to actually pull up this so we can maybe just screw it.
Yeah.
Screw it. So he said he picked this song because it shows you can have a long, legitimate career in hip-hop without having to change one single thing about yourself. E40 is a perfect example of that. And I'd give that. I mean, E40 has literally been the same since I can remember.
Yeah.
So, yeah, all right.
He's actually one of the first independent artists that nobody talks about.
E40 are special. The second track on here is 8Ball and MJG's Mr. Big from 1993.
Dope song, but I wouldn't put that in my top 10 as an educational song though.
Yeah, well, he says this was a group that rose to prominence off of a song. Don't get me wrong, their body work is obviously legitimate, but Mr. Big is that song that really connected with everybody. And this is a song, one of these instances where 8Ball and MJG puts out a solo record to represent them. This is a group that I've known for 30 plus years, and the only way that you can do a song like that as a single is when neither of the artists have any ego.
I actually listened to this song last week.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I would say Lay It Down was probably bigger than Mr. Big, at least here.
Mm.
I'd never got into 8Ball and MJG, or I was, what would Mike say? I was in my backpack.
You wasn't outside?
Well, that's another thing too. I wasn't outside either.
Oh, that too.
So there's two things. And so because I had my backpack on, I wasn't going backwards in a non-backpack way.
Got you.
For a while. Yeah. Third one was Ghetto Boys' Mind Playing Tricks on Me.
I think that deserves to be on there.
This is definitely crazy. You know, we all the talks about mental health that we have now, and this is really addressing mental health in a real way.
So he says, personally, this was a big song because this is when I actually watched a local group from where I was make a national acclaim. That song is the perfect example of going from independent into believing in yourself, sticking to your script, and then still making it right. So,
Ghetto Boys was real big here too.
Yeah.
Like even before that, like Ghetto Boys was big. But I think that was the first, like he said, national song that everybody knew.
Because I remember Do It Like a Geo came on the box on a pretty regular basis.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I actually got hip to the Ghetto Boys because of Office Space. So there's that. The fourth one was Ice Cube's A Bird in the Hand.
Wow, he's picking like deep cuts.
Yeah.
So he said, this one's a doozy because I didn't write any of these down. A Bird in the Hand by Ice Cube. This one literally speaks to the youth of today. This is the story of a young dude trying to make it in the world because he got a baby and ish like that. And he's talking about, do I need to sell a bunch of, powder stuff perhaps, or just crack? Or do I get help from Bush or Jesse Jackson and Operation Push?
Oh, you know what's crazy is like Kendrick takes a big part of this song.
Absolutely.
For Good Kid, Mad City.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is a very influential record. This is when we listen to records all the way through. So when I hear him say that, I was like, okay, it makes sense. But it's just wild. Like a couple of these records he's picked weren't even singles. Like you had to actually be into these artists to know.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. So, let's see. Let's go down to the next one. I believe 5th. So, wow, he's going to Boston. Is that, I believe, 𝐻𝐂𝐃 and the Bulldogs. Is that where 𝐻𝐂𝐃's from?
Yeah, Boston.
Be a father to your child. So he said, I believe there was an idea that hip hop made people more irresponsible, pushed people away from their responsibilities, and was not a culture of family. And I argued that that's nonsense. Because as an artist, I'm always asked, well, you guys make music and you guys don't think about the children and hear the music. And I'm like, I got children. I understand. I have to protect my children from the same worries of the world that you have to.
Well, that was a program that was actually running before hip hop was even a thing. So
yeah.
Mm-hmm. But you know,
very true.
What's wild is, and not really wild, this is actually a funny story. Like, they had an iteration, even though it wasn't Yo MTV Raps, but they had an iteration of some hip hop programming still going into like 1997, 96, 97 on MTV. And I remember this is around the time when that song, That's Just My Baby's Daddy by B-Rock and the Biz or whoever, it came out. And like, there must have been somebody up at MTV who had some sense of what was going on in the culture and wanted to just do a little pushback, because they played that song, but the very next song was Be a Father to Your Child. Now, mind you, Be a Father to Your Child was like 5 or 6 years old by this time. But somebody said, okay, if we're going to play That's Just My Baby Daddy, we're also going to play, at least this one time, we're going to play Be a Father to Your Child. I thought
conscious correction.
I was like, okay, you know, a balance of ratchetness and righteousness.
I can dig it.
Yeah, he also says with this, he said, there was a group of people who were simply ignoring their responsibility, and hip-hop was never about ignoring responsibility. You did what you had to do to take care of the family, and then you went and partied on the weekend.
There you go.
So, you know.
Yeah,
next one up is Tupac's Dear Mama. From 1995.
Yeah.
So he said, the beauty of Dear Mama is that it's complete reverence. The song is about a perfect love for an imperfect person. Tupac's mother was heavily flawed in her life, and he knew the choices she made his and his sister's life more difficult than it could have been, but he understood the world and environment his mother grew up in. He understood she was simply human. So.
I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
That's,
100%.
Yep. Next up is the West Coast All-Stars. We're all in the same gang from 1990. I'd never even heard of this group.
Really?
Wow.
Well, it's not a group, really. It was a kind of a coalition
of
a bunch of different rappers on the West Coast. It was the answer to self-destruction,
which is what it says.
The East Coast one.
Yeah, that's what it says in here. So, yeah, look, you guys know that my West Coast pre-2000 is not there. So, he said... We're All in the Same Gang was a record made to specifically address the escalating violence in Los Angeles, trying to help bring out a truce between the gangs just to bring it down.
And it didn't help at all.
Didn't help at all.
Sorry, things just got so bad.
He said this was not about violence in rap music. This was about violence in the community. Now we had something to put together before with KRS's Stop the Violence Movement, self-destruction, like you guys mentioned. But this was specifically targeting the LA gang situation, which in the late 80s and 90s was just ridiculous.
You know, one of my favorite Ice Cube lyrics is, because he was not on self-destruction. He had left NWA by then. He's like, some rappers are heaven sent, but self-destruction don't pay the fucking rent. You can either sell dope or get a job. I'd rather roll with the lynch mob. I was like, Ice Cube is the best rapper in the world.
He was killing it. Ice Cube had a little run where he was just dropping nothing but classics, and didn't nobody want to mess with him.
Yeah. And so, with that, he said, people believe hip hop is built around a bunch of gangbangers and that hip hop promotes this, but it's not true.
Smokey.
Slowly but surely, we tried to stop gang violence and gang growth in inner cities. Many of the rappers who were on that song were gangbangers, but they saw the gangbanging was starting to get out of hand, and that it was
starting to.
Yeah, and it was time to calm it down.
Colors was
Chill
2 years before this.
Come on, man.
Pay attention, and who the bigger enemy was, which was the system, the suppressive, systemic system designed to make you believe that a gang is your only option. So,
I will give credit. There are verses on this where I'm like, wow, they really killed that.
Yeah, Digital Underground got busy.
Young MC got busy.
MC Hammer got busy.
Like, Body and Soul, that was the last thing they did, but they got busy.
Yeah.
Def Jeff got busy.
Yeah, they went off on that.
Well, all right. I might have to go back and listen to it.
Good song, man.
Good song, yeah. Dr.
is this-
Dre produced that record.
Is this the only
Yeah.
song that they? Is like all it was? Or?
Yeah, that was
I
it.
see.
It's
I
just
see. I
one-off.
see.
It was
So
kinda
it was like a "We Are the World."
Well,
yeah.
it's we are the world for gangbanging.
Yeah.
I see. I see. I see. All right. Next up is Nelly's Country Grammar.
Sure, Jay Moore likes that.
Yeah, I
That's
hate
even
this
on
song,
the list.
man.
I don't think it's a top 10 song. man.
I would not put this. Like, if I wanted to tell someone about how hip hop is it,
Yeah.
I would. I mean, and the thing is, I love country. I love that record because it was like, all right. Because I remember having a conversation with some people. I was like, man, if Nelly just goes gold, man, we could have people come pay attention to the city. And then 10 million records later,
Yeah. Yeah.
You
I
got,
mean,
you got Chingy out of that. You got what's his name?
Jaquan.
Pretty Ricky. What is his name?
there was a dude, Pretty Willie.
Pretty Willie. That's his name.
He does like
we got a whole lot of the
he does
wrong
religious
attention.
stuff
Huh?
now.
Yeah.
Do y'all remember Ebony Eyes?
Sounds
Ebony
familiar,
Eyes.
but no.
Yeah, she had a little run.
Ebony Eyes. No, I don't know who that is. Not hip.
I think that's okay.
But yeah, I would not put Country Grammar as a top 10 song
So
to educate.
here's why
To
Buns.
put people on. I mean, he has good reasoning, so,
So
I can't hate.
so Country Grammar was a song I initially resisted, which I was the same, and I still don't like it. But I don't like it because everybody was playing it, and it was
I
just,
liked it because he shot it out of Indiana.
Yeah, but
Anytime
you
he shot
couldn't
it out
get away
Indiana.
from that song. I bet
the
Yeah.
song was never. It was literally playing. I remember I probably told this story in the podcast. Me and my homies, we would go to Applewood, and on Friday nights or whatever, hang out. People like cruise. They would just like cruise and play music, and it was literally every single car was playing the same song. And it's just like, oh my god, this song is driving me nuts. But anyways, he says.
Time.
He said, it was a song I initially resisted. I can admit to that. See, I was fighting very hard to be seen as a serious artist coming out of the South, representing the South, and I felt like music like Country Grammar was detrimental to the growth of hip-hop culture. But what I didn't realize is that you can be true to it and all that type of stuff. But if it don't make people dance and people can't have a good time too, it's almost redundant. So music at its best should inform, empower, make people want to engage, and make people think. Should do all of that, but at the very least, music has to make people dance.
I'd have chose Humpty Dance over that if we talking about making them dance.
Yeah, but like Country Grammar really brought like little kids and girls to the table, And some people would be like, nah, whatever. We just want to be rough, rugged, and raw, and be in the basement playing Dreamcast, smoking blunts. Like I'm dating myself, but.
He put the nursery rhyme aspect to it.
He put that thing to where it made it super accessible to where even though if you really listen to the record, it's about stealing people's rims and shooting people, but that's not the
danger.
It's not the, when you listen to the edited version, which is what most people were introduced to it by, you don't get that vibe. It just seems like it's a good time.
Well, it feels like a good time.
Yeah.
All right. Next up is Goody Mob's Soul Food.
Oh, definitely.
I can dig that.
Yeah. So he says, Bun B says, I'm going back and forth between two groups, same crew. I've got to go Soul Food by Goody Mob. He said he was going back and forth between that one and Players Ball.
I would have to put them both on there personally.
Yeah. He said, but I got to do Soul Food because Soul Food is not really about soul food. It's about family, about tradition. It's about gathering. And as I get older, let's just say one of my grandmothers was still alive when Soul Food came out. She's not here anymore. So those things about gathering at Big Mama's house when Big Mama passes, you see the tradition pass on. So,
yeah. No, I can dig that.
All right. Yeah.
That whole album was educational, to say the least.
Goody Mob.
I just like the part where it goes, F. Chris Darden, F. Marshall Clark.
Yeah. He been helping a fried chicken, macaroni and cheese, and collard greens too big for my jeans.
Mm-hmm.
Thank the Lord that my voice is recordable.
That's an awesome line.
Yeah, I think about that often.
Next up is Scarface featuring Tupac. Smile.
Smile down there makes me cry.
Really?
Straight up.
But of all the Scarface songs,
Yeah.
I think
Smile holds a special place with me for different reasons. But the thing with Scarface has so many songs that could have been on this list.
I think about My Block. I think about Hand on the Dip. Oh gosh, you could go all on about Scarface now.
Yeah. So he said, this is a song that really shocked me. It was a very wild time. And then there's a lot that goes into that speaks deeper to me. I think the idea of creating a body of work with someone, creating some really good music, some really good content with someone, and then that person not even being around to see the success of that song.
Mm.
The idea that you can record a song with somebody and they can pass away before the song comes out was almost an unheard of concept back then.
And it's so good.
Yeah.
I think the only thing before that had been maybe the Scenario remix with 𝐀𝐁𝐎,
Right.
where 𝐀𝐁𝐎 was killed before the remix came out.
Or really KRS-One, before Criminal Minded came out, Skylar Rock was killed. And he was actually on the cover of the album.
Mm-hmm.
He also says, when you hear a song like Smile, you see the kinship that a person like Scarface and Tupac had, how much deep emotional music and spiritual music they could have made together. So, yeah.
No, I'm with that one.
Yeah, I think is that it? Yeah, that's the 10. So,
That's his 10?
Yep.
Are there songs where you say we just give 2 or 3
honorable mentions?
Or just not even honorable mentions, because his list is his list.
Are you saying for us to add?
Yes, things that you would definitely add.
Tupac Machiavelli, Crazy.
Okay. I would definitely add. I feel like if I'm gonna introduce somebody to hip hop and say this is the emotional impact that hip hop can have, I'm playing them Troy by Pete Rock and CL Smooth.
Yeah,
a good one.
For all
the message, even. I mean, because that was kind of the first hip hop song that discussed mental health as well and conditions of people, how they're living in the hood and things of that nature. I would have included the message.
Because up until that point, it's like, well, I can see the Knicks play basketball and people rapping about how good they can rap.
Right.
This was one that's like, okay. Sadly, I'm not trying to say, because sometimes it takes something like that to be like, oh, maybe this is art to people from outside of whatever. Right. I always say that my favorite Notorious B.I.G. song is Everyday Struggle, because it is so open and honest about how actually miserable it is to be a drug dealer.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't sugarcoat anything about it. It makes it seem like being a drug dealer it's not even worth it. And I wish there were more raps like it.
Yeah, that's facts.
Yeah, I can't think of any realistic. I mean, I can think of a bunch, but I can't think of one that I would want to. This is like something that I would have to like sit down and like
kind of think about
it pretty thoroughly. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, Respiration by Black Star comes to mind, but that's just like a personal thing to me, because I know the impact that it had on me, and it was
Tupac Pain.
It was a little later.
Yeah.
Pain.
Yeah.
I would say
Eminem, Brain Dead. Just because everybody's brain dead. No.
If I was going to pick up Tupac song or something with Tupac, I would say Brenda's Got a Baby, because I would talk about not only the message in that song, but the fact that he had the conviction to go into Interscope Records and say, we're going to make this a single.
Yeah.
This depressing tale about, a girl who's been basically abandoned by her sister, by the system, her family, and her friends, and winds up being dead at the end of the song. Like you said, yeah. Can you imagine? I mean, it's, of course people are going to jump in the comments and say, well, somebody else would have done that. But he did this when, you trying to compete with Kid and Play Records and and stuff that's making people dance, and you're going to put out this essentially very depressing song. Right. And say,
it kind of was at the same time as the LOG song, though.
Yeah.
So if I was picking a song like that, I probably personally would have picked Brenda's Got a Baby over Be a Father to Your Child, even though essentially it's a horror story at the end of the day.
It really is.
But to me, that one kind of touched me more than Be a Father to Your Child.
No, I mean, like I said, they shot a video, sent that out to radio, and it worked.
Definitely worked.
Because sometimes you just got to realize people are drawn to the real. Like, you can give them, the sizzle all day long, but sometimes you give people a steak and they got to, I don't know if maybe that's the best analogy or whatever, but you know, people don't want to hear the foolishness all day.
Nah.
You know, sometimes there has to be something that you can hold on to and it has some sort of emotional impact on you. And that's how I feel about Brenda's Got a Baby. I think it's one of the boldest things an artist has ever done in modern music to say, I want this as a single. And if we're not going to do this, we're not going to do anything.
Yeah.
Say Outkast, 13th Floor.
I was thinking about elevators. It's because I like elevators.
Yeah.
I think Shorty Want to Be a Thug by Tupac.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's Tupac actually has a bunch of songs that, minus the BS, that are really conscious content as far as some stuff you really need to pay attention to.
Or I would just say My Philosophy by BDP.
Yeah,
you know, there are things that are introduced in that song that I may not live like. I'd never heard of saying someone, you know, talking about being a vegetarian up until I heard that song. Now, of course, I am not a vegetarian. I enjoy all the meats. Pause. But at least I could look into it. And, you know, like that was the thing that was really dope about hip hop at that time. So much of what you were not getting in school, I'd be like, well, who is this Malcolm X character that's on everybody's T-shirt? You know, what are they talking about? What is KRS-One talking about? And you must learn. You know, is this something I should dig deeper into? You know, because of course you got, you know, we got to talk about the Pilgrims and how they sat down with the Indians in school. But you know, once you start listening to these rap records, it'd be like, no, that's not what happened. No. You know, I've said this before. Like, while I'm not a Muslim, I do kind of miss the Muslim influence in hip hop because there was a little bit of seriousness.
That's the difference. See, that's one of the things I think that has a lot of the older hip hop heads and people that grew up in that generation that has them a little upset because it was literally teaching you stuff that you didn't know, along with telling you some stuff you probably don't need to know.
Don't need to be involved in.
Right. So it was that kind of that balance of I'm gonna educate you, and I'm gonna give you this real stuff too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You know, so I mean, I just think that was, you know, a different time. You know, what are the symbols on Rakim's jacket mean? What is that about?
Yeah. I say Jay-Z where I'm from.
Yeah. Or if I was, and this would be a mixture of Jay and Scarface, and Beanie's on the record too, but this can't be life. Like if you haven't done so in a while, like go listen, especially if you've been through something. Like I remember I listened to that song and I you know, it was just a rough time for me, and like tears welled up in my eyes. Listen to Scarface's. He's the third verse on the song. This Can't Be Life off the Dynasty album.
Yeah, Scarface got a few songs that actually does that to me. That's why I would put him in my top 5.
So yeah, I mean, you could say most influential, maybe how this took the art form to another level. It showed that we could be more, or it just could be something personal. Like I said, like to me, I wish every young cat who's thinking about getting to the game would listen to Everyday Struggle and realize it's like, okay, yeah, it seems cool, like you got a little flashiness to yourself, but like 50 Cent said this on, I think like David Letterman of all places, like when he was promoting, I think Get Rich or Die Trying, he said, and he probably said this several places, he said, when you take everything into account, you know, having to dodge the police, dodge other people who want to, you know, shoot you over, whatever, like selling drugs is a minimum wage job.
Come on. 50 Cent Many Men is actually a really good song to put people on to some real stuff.
Yeah. So, I mean, like you could go on and on. I think everyone, if we made a list of 10 songs, would have 10 different songs. But I think this is I think it made for a cool discussion.
No, but I would say that out of all the lists that we've went through, I can at least appreciate and respect this list.
Because he actually explained to you why they're on the list versus just pulling some stuff out of a hat and be like, oh, this works.
No, I can appreciate this.
I'm surprised he didn't put anything from UGK on there, because probably just because he's maybe biased.
Yeah. I mean, he did. I was kind of like skimming everything else that I didn't read, and he did mention like, you know, stuff that they were doing at that time in reference to it.
Like One Day You're Here. UGK got a bunch of dope country rap tunes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like I know this is for all the wrong reasons, but
let me see it.
But murder, UGK.
Yeah. That's serious.